because I'm finding, interestingly enough, what people are doing with tweets now is they'll go and they'll look at your Twitter feed and they'll see what you've been tweeting about as a rule. I mean, they kind of look at your history of tweets and they say, this person thinks, so it's very important for people not to tweet stupid stuff, because customers are actually looking there and saying, do I really want to associate myself with this person or not? So anyway, I'm always working. I'm constantly, I've got more business than I can handle at any given moment. I'm just always full up, and I'm always solving business problems. And it's just, that's what I do. I just love it.
Oh, it's fantastic. And you're obviously passionate about it. And I just so wanted to speak to you, because that's always the starting point for me, is the reason I left corporate and went back really to run my own business, is to get back to customers, and small businesses seem so much closer. They seem to have that bit a little bit more nailed, because they, it's so close to them, and it forced me to think much more about customers. So the starting point always is to do that research. So I really appreciate it.
You interviewed me, now I get to interview you.
Sure.
So where did you come from? What's your background?
So I'm based in Australia, in Melbourne. My background is, I started off doing a teaching degree and finished that and decided I was too young to teach. And so I sort of, much to my parents' disgust, went and worked at McDonald's and just thought, I'll just play here for a bit. And I'm really creative, so I sort of thought that we could do some promotions when people came in. We could work with other businesses and service the customers better, and that started to work. And I thought, well, what is this? This is marketing. So I'll go back and study that at night. And so I did, and then I sort of just went from company to company, but my passion's always been IT. So I'm a bit of a geek. And just at that time, fortunate enough for me, it was this groundswell of internet starting, and then all these other applications and tools. And so that was really fun for me. So I would work in an IT company in HP for about 10 years, and then I'd come home and play. And probably around 5-6 years ago, when I had my son, I thought, I'm not going back to that corporate world. I went through that roller coaster of, okay, I've done the loop of 12 months. I know what this is like. It's very short term. I can't keep doing this. I'm not growing. And to me, that's the most important thing. The learning is much more important. And I think today, really, this personal development for younger people is more important than the wage. And so I decided to start my own business, and pretty much just did. I can't even remember how it started, to tell you the truth, but I just did, and so that's gone through an evolution for me as well, from being a marketer to now I term myself a customer-centric marketer, because there isn't, frankly, that many of us that hold the customer at the centre. It just isn't, and I think it's difficult for businesses to do that, because especially once they're established, it challenges everything they've put in place. And so it's a difficult decision to throw it out the window and start again. Build your business from the customer first out. But that's what I'm trying to do. So I guess where I am in that whole journey is I'm discovering what service design is, which is a whole thought around how you design a product from a customer's perspective, and taking that methodology and trying to apply it to a marketing base. And like you said, it's difficult, because service design sort of cuts through a lot of different aspects within a company. You've got the service part, you've got the marketing part, you've got the HR part. It is a methodology or a mindset. And I think that's where my mindset is. And it sounds very similar to you in that, we're not trying to go in and just fix one little bit. We're doing it from a customer point of view first. And so it's an interesting journey, and I'm just enjoying it and trying to speak with people like you to basically learn. I don't really care if no one listens to it. For me, it's just an opportunity to learn.
Well, my husband calls that being a learn-it-all versus being a know-it-all.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's a fun way to live. I mean, I love tech because I mean, from the day I started, I mean, I was selling machine shop tools when I was 17, and I failed miserably. I was an absolute failure because nobody trained me. They just gave me the catalog and said, here, you're the first woman in the United States to sell machine shop tools. Go for it, babe. I didn't understand any of that stuff. And I was so embarrassed. I swore to myself that I would learn everything I could about selling and everything I could about technology. And I've never stopped. I mean, you can never stop. You can never stop and rest for any moment. You just have to.
Terrible.
There's this big problem that you're trying to solve and I'm trying to solve, which is, at the center is the company. I mean, when you were saying what you were saying, it reminded me of a conversation I had with a guy at IBM once where we were talking about the way the portal should be designed and all this stuff. And he kept going up to the whiteboard, and every time he was illustrating his thing, he would put IBM in the middle and then all these spokes coming out. And, every time I went up, I was like, no, here's the customer in the middle. Here's how they see all this stuff. It is a very difficult thing, and the CEO is sort of the head of this club, this insiders club. And there's plenty to do. You come to work, and there's all these people running around and all these problems to solve. And you can spend all day doing that and never, ever thinking once about the customer coming in and interacting with your company and your people and your website and all that stuff. So you'll have a fun time doing that for years and years because it's like teaching people how to be generous, instead of self-centered. It's a lifetime of employment.
Well, it seems to be. I had this discussion with, I'm trying to remember who I interviewed, but it was a debate I was having, is it the people that fall into this field just empathetic? Is it just the way, because I always think that, as a kid, I just always thought of others. And I don't know if I was overly thoughtful, but I actually had them in my mind's eye a lot about how they were feeling. I suppose I call that empathy. And whether I'm, at home thinking about that or in a company, I'm always thinking about how that makes other people feel and what they would be thinking. And it just seems to me that not a lot of people do that. I just thought everybody was like that. So it was surprising to separate, yourself so much from that person that you were affecting. And so I find that when I'm sitting in and I'm consulting for a larger company now, I'm constantly doing that. I'm putting myself exactly where the customer was and challenging decisions. And that's really fun.
It is. It allows you to make an enormous difference, not just for the customer, who's sort of the end beneficiary of it, but if the company starts doing things the way the customer wants them to, then all of those people are still going to have jobs.
Exactly.
I started out being a teacher. I was going to be a music teacher, and by the time I got out of school, the teaching jobs were just non-existent. And I had already been selling for years, and so I thought, well, I'll just keep on the marketing side, the selling side. But I also always kind of wanted to be a social worker or, help people kind of get out of one phase or one issue where they're stuck here and they need this transformation. And when you transform an entire company, when you help a company make that transformation, there's just nothing more rewarding. I mean, I love it. The employees say to me, oh, geez, they finally got a clue. Because they often know. I mean, the people lower down who are talking to customers actually know that there's a problem.
Absolutely.
And solve it.
Yeah.
They don't have the evidence, which is why I always go out and make these interviews. People start wanting to ask my advice before I said, no, you know what? I could tell you a million things right now after you've given me your side of the story, but I'm going to be off base. Even with all my experience, I'm going to be off base. I'm not going to be talking about the stuff that actually matters to your customers. And once you do that and the company starts shifting, oh, it's so much fun. It's really fun.
That is. I really appreciate your time and thank you so much. And I'll put a link to your book and your website on this and forward this to you. And I hope we keep in contact. It sounds like it's an interesting journey you've had so far.
Too. I would like that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.